Hey there everyone, and welcome to The Mindful Musician. On this channel, we explore the strategies and tools that help us become more aware of our inner world as musicians and constantly evolving to the best version of ourselves, alongside becoming able to function successfully within a group or a band. I'm Cosmin, guitarist, singer, professional educator, and martial artist from Bucharest, Romania, and because I want to give you as much value and information as possible, in this video we'll explore 5 more books that have helped me along my career and some of my students as well in becoming better musicians and evolving as human beings by expanding knowledge, perception, and providing actionable tools that we can use in real life. Why I found it valuable, how it changed my perspective, and what I began practicing after reading it. So here we go. First book in this list is Still Like an Artist by Cosmin. Just like the famous YouTuber Ali Abdaal, whom I strongly admire and find inspiration in, Cosmin says that nothing is original, so embrace influence, school yourself through the work of others, remix and reimagine to discover your own path. There is no original message, just original messengers. This perspective led me to the following practices. Still like an artist. What do you like in your favorite player's phrasing, for instance? How can you make it yours? Change the key, change the mode, but keep the rhythmic outline of the phrase. This is stealing like an artist. Don't wait until you know who you are to get started. Write the book you want to read or write the song you want to listen to. Side projects, hobbies, and interdisciplinary work are important because they help you build perspectives that you could never have access to just by sticking to one activity or field. Do good work and share it with other people. Geography is no longer our master because we have the internet. Be nice because it pays off to your inner state and because the world is a very small town, like Austin says. Be boring and stick to your routine. It's the only way to get work done. Creativity is abstraction. Sometimes the less you put in, the more space an idea has to really shine. The next book, also written by the same Cosmin, is a short read and it's really on point. You'll probably have fun reading it, so go ahead. Show Your Work expands on the previous book, which is Still Like an Artist, by encouraging artists to embrace a fail-forward attitude that involves putting your work out there without it being perfect and learning to make it better as you go, as opposed to sitting hidden in a cave for 20 years until your work is perfect. As with the other one, here's a bunch of practices you may want to embrace. Let others into your process, then let them steal from you. You can't find your voice if you don't use it. Share without oversharing. Think work, not workouts. What can you learn from the people you look up to, regardless of their profession, that have built sharing into their routine? Contributing something is better than contributing nothing. The best way to get started on the path to sharing your work is to think about what you want to learn and make a commitment to learning it in front of others. If your work isn't online, it doesn't exist and you don't exist either. Become a documentarian in what you do. Again, a short but great read that I highly recommend. Next, Real Artists Don't Starve by Jeff Coynes is a wake-up call to those who think being an artist isn't a realistic or viable pursuit. Here you'll find ample proof to debunk the myths portraying artists as starving and solitary figures that must suffer for their art. The important perspective here is that everyone says they appreciate art, but when asked to take out their wallets, most will hesitate. This book is great in how it gives artists a framework for understanding art and commerce, and at the same time protecting the artist's integrity. I think this is something most artists lack, and they immediately associate making money with selling out. Also, another key aspect is that once you decide to embrace art as your full career, you should do so gradually and not quit everything that brought income to support this process, but follow a step-by-step transformation process. This obviously takes us to the realm of limiting beliefs, but then again, you'll end up discovering that there are actually just a handful of major aspects in one's development that once taken care of and supported will have an enormous contribution to the well-being and development of that person. So moving on to the valuable insights. Take the risks. Creative dreams aren't launched overnight. They're built gradually, just like this channel. If you don't have to go all in, don't. Most significant change begins with a simple step, not a giant leap. You are who you say you are. Put the title writer on your business card and email signature. You have to take yourself seriously before you expect others to. John Grisham, author and pioneer of the legal thriller genre, left his law practice to pursue writing full-time only after 2 bestsellers. Keep reinventing yourself. Art is always found on the fringes, at the edge of our discomfort, where true change occurs. Being original is overrated. Being able to reproduce an earlier work was not something to be ashamed of during the Renaissance period. It was a point of pride, actually. So study the greats, begin as a copycat and end as a master. The creative process is done right when others are not compelled to steal from you. You've done your job when you are no longer the thief, but the one being robbed. Starving artists wait for their big breaks. Thriving artists become apprentices in their craft. The difference between someone who made it and someone who did not ultimately comes down to 2 factors: who helped them and how hard they worked. Be stubborn on vision and flexible on details. So as Jeff Bezos likes to say, use your day job to practice. Art costs money, and there's no guarantee that your creative work will generate enough money for you to live off. Don't opt out of the system, embrace it. The rule of the scene: places and people shape the success of our work more than we realize. Location is not irrelevant. Place matters. Hotspots of creativity, when properly harnessed, can become powerful spurs to creative work. Not every art student becomes an artist. Some become curators, community organizers, or patrons. Others become collectors, dealers, and auction house owners. A network is more than a team of cheerleaders. It's a diverse group of individuals who offer a set of skills and resources that help each member succeed. A network is your insurance against anonymity. The greater access you have to influential people in your field, the further your work will spread. If you want to do world-changing creative work, you must reconcile the fact that you likely won't be able to do it alone. You need help. Find your band of misfits, use the accountability of that group, and let your sense of competition drive you to create work. If you want to be found, you need to put yourself out there. There is no better way to improve than to put your work out there and risk rejection. You have to practice in public. When we undervalue our work, we end up playing the martyr, resenting the free gig halfway through the process. If you don't get paid, it erodes the love of your craft. Make sure you charge for your art. It has nothing to do with money. It's a matter of taking yourself seriously and seeing others do the same. You need to make money to make art. One practice that I got from this book is embracing my identity by saying, "Hi, I'm Cosmin, musician and professional educator," when I introduce myself. When you refer to yourself as such, the way you perceive your identity has reverberations on your values, beliefs, and habits. Therefore, in respect to this, one can train oneself to act as one thinks of himself. What does a successful musician do? What does a successful professional educator do? What is important to them? What do they believe in? These are questions that can help you tremendously in your journey. Take some time to reflect on them and see what answers appear. Next, Effortless Mastery by Kenny Werner. This is the first ever book about music philosophy that I have ever read. I clearly remember buying it when it came out of sheer impulse at a jazz festival I went to back in 2008, I think, to see the great Victor Lupu perform. I reread it years later and I laughed at myself a bit, thinking of how limited my perception was at that time. But hey, according to what we just talked about in Dr. Carol Dweck's mindset, we live, we learn, we grow, right? Here's the perspective that this book offers. The term effortless mastery is actually redundant because in this case, mastery is the effortless execution of music. It does not refer to how many things one can do, but rather the quality with which one does what they do. If something can be done perfectly every time without thought, it is said to be mastered. At performance time, music plays itself while the musician observes. Mastery is playing whatever you're capable of playing every time without thinking. That's why the great performers make it look easy. This is the most valuable concept to me. Staying out of the way and letting music play itself by accepting whatever comes out, the good and the bad, with equal love. Without the drama of needing to sound good, we can play from that effortless space. This takes deprogramming and reprogramming, of course. This spoke a lot to me because as a teacher, I have to constantly deal with the impatience of some students who waste a ton of time complaining that they can properly play something instead of practicing it constantly and with enough awareness so that they might get to play it as they want. This leads to being able to play the material perfectly every time without thought by practicing thoroughly and patiently until the material plays itself. The ego no longer gets in the way, and when material is properly digested, it comes out in an organic way and manifests as our honest and powerful voice. A good practice that I derived somewhat indirectly is a very strong comparison with a concept learned from the Filipino martial arts. Keep fighting without accusing the pain of any blow that hits you. Obviously, this is valid not only for the fighting arts, but for anything in life, if you ask me, and it's a crucial aspect to be trained. It allowed me to practice continuing to play even if I made a mistake by accepting it and moving on. If I practice a certain phrase in a cycle and I make a mistake, I continue playing. I let it go and pay attention to the particular part in the following cycles until I can play it right each and every time. It's a practice I'm trying to teach my students, of course. Next, Atomic Habits by James Clear can provide you with a detailed perspective on how to actually build and support a habit. Why is this important? Habits are an important element in the foundation of our performance, regardless of the activity field, and this book brings a whole new perspective on the anatomy of habits and the process of their formation and maintenance, reinforced by practices meant to transform you into a habit ace. Here are some valuable concepts I extracted. An atomic habit is a regular practice or routine that is not only small and easy to do, but is also the source of incredible power, a component of the system of compound growth. How does a habit loop function and what does it look like? The 4 stages of habit are best described as a feedback loop. They form an endless cycle that is running every moment you are alive. This habit loop is continually scanning the environment, predicting what will happen next, trying out different responses, and learning from the results. In summary, the cue triggers a craving, which motivates a response, which provides a reward, which satisfies the craving and ultimately becomes associated with the cue. Bad habits repeat themselves again and again, not because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong system for change and you also unconsciously get something good from doing them. If you want to find more about this paradoxical concept, check out my video on musician goals right here. Changes that seem small and unimportant at first will compound into remarkable results if you're willing to stick with them for years. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. If you want better results, focus the system that gets you there. The most effective way to change your habits is to focus not on what you want to achieve, but on who you wish to become. A shift in identity will trigger a shift in habits. Environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. The most powerful practice that I started using was the actual implementation of the 4 laws of behavior change, a simple set of rules one can use to build better habits. Make it obvious. How will I set up my environment so that it will help me implement a new habit? Make it attractive. What can I do to make sure I will want to take action on a particular habit? Number 3, make it easy. What's the least action I can take towards my new habit? Number 4, make it satisfying. How will I reward myself for sticking to the habit? Of course, the 4 laws are described in much detail, and therefore I totally encourage you to read the book in order to get the most out of it. It is immensely useful for setting up healthy practice habits, for instance. We all know how easy it is to start procrastinating instead of practicing your instrument or whatever, so I guess this book has got us covered. Now that we have finished our list, I cannot overemphasize the fact that regardless of how many books you read, the true transformation occurs only when you put what you learn into practice. As I stated in my previous video about the 5 books, knowledge without practice is not power. So please find out what you want to change and put the advice read in these books into practice. Let me know in the comments below what's the number 1 practice you will start with, or better yet, what practice gave you the most benefits, and if you have suggestions on videos you'd like me to make, please do tell. If this video motivated you to check out 1 or more of these books and get to work, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.